Hello everyone. If you missed me last week, my name is Liz. I am the guest instructor on the channel for the month of June, so I'm very excited to be here. Just like Andy last month, I am one of the directors of Squared, which is a fully virtual color guard dedicated to giving performance opportunities to people who might not have them. So maybe you're aged out, maybe you don't have the money to march, maybe there's just no guard in your area. Whatever that reason, Squared is there for you. Go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram at SQD_independent. Also, while you're there, go ahead and give a follow to my two favorite drum corps. That's at Jersey Surf and at Boston Crusaders, because they're the best. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do a single turn under a sabre toss. We are going to be starting under quads today. I would not recommend beginners try to turn under anything lower than a quad, and I would not recommend trying to toss above your range just to give yourself more time to turn. You want to make sure that whenever you toss, what you're tossing is something comfortable and consistent for you. Because if it's not, then the rifle or the saber is going to go in all different directions, and then it's just going to be difficult to catch or maybe even dangerous to you. So make sure what you're tossing is comfortable and consistent for you, and make sure you've got at least your quads before trying this. All right, let's start with our first body. So we're going to put this down. We don't need this yet. We are going to stand in a nice second position and pretend you've got your saber at a nice left flat in front of you. All that we're going to do with our feet is we're going to step onto our left foot, onto the ball of our foot, and we're going to do a pencil turn here, back to our second position. Now, easy enough, right? Then you're going to add your hands. So pretend you've tossed, you've got your left hand up, your right hand down. What's going to happen is your left hand is going to press on top of your right, straight down in center. So you're going to do that at the same time as you turn. So think you've got fake toss, and turn, and this body does a couple of things. It helps make sure your turn stays centered and grounded. So that is going to help you get the turn out, first of all, but it's also going to help speed up that turn, because the number one problem that people have when they start turnarounds is either they don't turn around enough or they turn around too slow to catch the equipment. So this body helps mitigate that, right? When you've got your hands pressing down, that automatically speeds up your turn. So you really want to make sure that turn takes up one count, so you really want to think about pressing down here. So you've got out, turn, look, and catch. So let's go ahead and pick up the saber super fast. I'm not going to talk too long about saber toss technique because there are other videos about that, but you do want to make sure of a couple things. Give yourself a full dip. Don't be somebody who's going here. So nice full seatbelt angle. You want to make sure that when you release, you're releasing at this sort of flat angle, and you are taking your left hand slightly outwards, so that way your saber doesn't naturally go that way. It helps sometimes to also think about keeping your elbow either to your side or slightly behind you. Before we do any kind of turning, let's go ahead and give ourselves just a regular quad, straight up, straight down, and listen to the vocals I say underneath it, because we're going to use those when we start turning. Ready? And 5, and 6, and 5, 6, 7, out, turn, look, catch. So, you heard out, turn, look, catch. Under a quad, that's how many rotations you have, right? So that's what you're counting. That means that out, that's count 1. Count 1 is entirely dedicated to your toss. You're not doing anything but tossing on count 1. Don't even think about your turn yet. Then count 2. You don't have a saber in your hands anymore. Count 2 is where you get to do this turn. So make sure from here, you're ending count 1 here, and count 2 is only about this turn right here. By count 3, you should be here in this second position. So your turn should have been all of count 2, and now 3, you're back to the front. You spend all of count 3 straight to the front, and you're still looking up at that saber to, troubleshoot if anything went wrong. And then count 4, that's your catch. You want to make sure there's a separation between each of those 4 counts, because when you try to do them all together, that's when things go wrong. All right, before we start turning under our tosses, there's one last thing we need to think about, and that is what our eyes are doing during the turn. So, you never want to stop watching your equipment at all. From the second it leaves your hands, to the middle of your turn, to that count 3, to count 4, your eyes should not leave the saber. You should not have to go researching for it later, because you just don't have time to do that, especially under a quad. So, what you need to do is you need to train your eyes to see what a saber looks like while it's spinning and you're spinning. One great way to do that is to start by turning underneath something that's not a saber. So here I have like one of those little sock bun donuts, but it could be anything. It could be a stuffed animal, it could be a pair of socks, you know, anything soft, anything not dangerous. And what you can do is you can try that exact body underneath it, and all you gotta do is toss the harmless thing, watch it, and watch it fall to the ground. That's gonna help get your eyes used to watching something while you turn. Then when you do move up to your saber, what you're gonna be watching for is this balance tape right here. This balance tape is where you want to be watching, because as tempting as it is to spot the hilt, if you spot the hilt, what you're going to do is you're going to want to center your body around it. But if you center your body here, you have to lean really far to catch. So you want to try and center on this catch tape right here. So that's what you want to watch while it's spinning in the air. All right, so with all of that, let's go ahead and string it together and try a turnaround. Remember what we talked about. You want a nice consistent toss. You want it straight up and straight down. No wacky motion. Then you want to think about your count structure. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, and out, turn, look, catch. Everything has its own count. And then the last thing is your eyes. You want to make sure you're watching that saber the entire time it's in the air and turning fast enough to make sure that you get back to the front. So let's put that all together and try a turnaround. Ready? And 5, and 6, and 5, 6, 7, out, turn, look, catch. Let's try 2 variations on that same turn. If you got that first one, this should be pretty easy for you. So we're going to hold our left flat, we're going to step our right foot into second, and then we're going to step our right foot slightly forward. So this is like a sort of modified 4th/2nd position. If you view this from the side, it's nice and here. So you want that left foot back because that's the foot that we're turning on. Same rules apply. You're going to toss on count 1, turn onto your left on count 2, step that right foot back where it started, and catch on count 4. Let's try a toss from this modified 4th position. Ready? And 5, and 6, and 5, 6, 7, out, turn, look, catch. This last toss builds off of that 4th position. So let's go ahead and get back in our left flat. We're going to go 2nd and 4th. Everything's the same with our toss, right? A beautiful, consistent quad. Now from here, you are going to step back onto this left leg and do a nice, beautiful attitude turn to catch. A couple of things you want to make sure with this attitude turn. You want to still be fast enough to get around, right? So you don't have time to linger. You have to keep going. You also want to make sure that when you do this turn, your leg is behind you the whole time in a nice attitude, rather than like in front of you, like a dog. So you want to think about kicking your head with your foot. And then, same rules apply. You want to keep watching that saber in the air, turn quickly, keep your balance, and then land right where you started. Let's go ahead and try this last version of our saber turnaround. Ready? And 5, and 6, and 5, 6, 7, out, turn, look, catch. All right, thank you all so much for having me. That concludes this tutorial. If you try this, go ahead and tag me on Instagram at Night of the Lunch Table. I want to see what you do.